Welcome to the Gen X Pole Arts Podcast, Fit, Fierce, and Fearless. I am Zen, also known as Nancy Adzentovich, the founder of Gen X Pole Arts. I am happy to be launching this podcast where we are going to be celebrating the strength, resilience, and potential of women over 40 in the vibrant world of pole dance. I'm excited to embark on this empowering journey with you guys. And each week, we will connect with inspiring women who are redefining what it means to thrive in their 40s and beyond. From incredible stories of personal transformation to tips on building strength and confidence, we'll explore the boundless possibilities that pole dancing offers for self-expression and empowerment. Whether you're a seasoned dancer or just curious about the journey, there's a place for you here. So grab a cup of coffee, a sparkling water, whatever turns you on, and get comfortable. Let's celebrate the incredible power of women who are embracing their passions and pushing boundaries at every age. And don't forget to subscribe and join our community on social media and sign up for the 15-day pole dance challenge if you haven't done so already. All right, now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Fit, Fierce, and Fearless, episode 31. I am Zen, also known as Nancy, and today I have another amazing guest. Welcome, Brian, to the podcast. Brian is somebody who I met through PSO competition because we competed against one another. You did the strongman.
Yes.
And I don't know if that was the year I did the panda pole, and you did
you did Panda.
Yeah, you were the strongman, I was panda. You won, I think, the gold in that category, right? Yeah.
I was fortunate.
Yeah, no, you were great. It was really funny. And if you guys, I don't know if it's still up on your Instagram, but if you guys want to see it, I'll put Brian's Instagram in the show notes and you can go back in time and see clips from that. But it was really good. So welcome to the podcast, Brian. Thank you for being here. And I'll give you a public apology because I was late coming to the recording today. So I appreciate you being understanding and a sweetheart about it. So thank you. Do you want to tell the folks about yourself?
Okay, sure. My name's Brian. I actually have like two different backgrounds, I guess, within pole. So
Okay.
I actually I first did pole, and I had to look it up, but I did pole July 27th, 2014 to November 4th, 2014.
Okay.
Then because it was, I started out doing pole as as an act of revenge on an ex.
I don't think
So
you're the first to say that.
yeah. So the funny thing is, like, I get people who are like, I've heard of women doing it, but you might be the first guy who's like, I'm gonna get back at this girl. So no, so I was like sitting there. Dated a dancer. Things didn't work out. I didn't, it was like, okay, I'm going to get myself in really good shape was the initial goal. And then I was sitting around at a sauna. And this one friend was talking to your friend about like, what should we do? And the one girl was like, I'm kind of getting bored of the gym. Why don't we try pole dance? So I was like, well, I was like, can guys even pole dance? Because 2014, I guess, is a whole lot different now than 2025.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, you know what? I wonder if I could just sign up for this. Why not? So go look. There's actually only two studios at that time that were co-ed. So there was one, I think, midtown, like mid city LA, and then there was another studio, Luscious Maven, in North Hollywood. So I live in Pasadena. I was like, I don't really want to drive to like mid city, so I'll try North Hollywood. The distance isn't bad. So they say, show up in your gym outfit and bring a water bottle, bring a yoga mat. My gym outfit at the time was, because I was still kind of self-conscious about myself, I wore long sleeve shirt, I wore my sweatpants, and I wear a regular t-shirt on top. I walk into the studio and I'm like, okay, it's me and then seven other women. And they're like, the instructor's like, okay, we're gonna, go through the stretching, we'll go through the exercise. Then she walks up to me and she goes, we're gonna have to get you naked.
Oh God.
And at this point, I'm kind of like, this is like, wait,
You're like,
what
what did I
what did I
sign up
do?
for?
Yeah, what did I just walk into? I know I signed up for this thing called pole dancing, I was like, but, and then I'm sitting here like in a group of, mind you, like 10 women who are like fairly good looking. And I'm like, I'm being told I got to get naked. Wait, just a
Oh
second.
no.
So she's like, no, no, no. So when you pole dance, your skin, as you know, your skin sticks to the pole. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. So she's like, can we pull your like, sweats up? I was like, okay. And then she's like, well, would you be, take your long sleeve shirt off? I see you have a, regular t-shirts. I said, okay, do that. So, and then I learned how to pull. I learned how to do inside leg hang. The girl that I dated at the time didn't know how to do inside leg hang. So
Uh-huh.
I brought her over and I was like, I'm doing pole too as well. So she's like, come take the class. So I showed her how to do inside leg hang. And she's like, I can't do that. I was like, yes, I got my payback. So in the meantime, they were talking about competition, and again, I was like, you imagine, never doing pole, and or even kind of considering the fact it can be a sport.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's something that I might be interested in. However, in the background, I'm, starting to get involved in this and try to share it with friends or people that I kind of know. This is again when Facebook's kind of popular.
Mhm.
Instagram really isn't around that much, or I didn't really know that much about it.
Sure.
So, I started getting comments from people who I know who I think are friends. This is gross. This is gay.
Oh,
And other terms and other
yeah.
statements they're making. So in the meantime, like I'm kind of getting statements from people who I think are, like supposed to be friends about
Right.
really just kind of more and more, like this is so weird. This is so gross. So I kind of was like, well, I'm just doing this for fun. I enjoy this, but I'm not going to sit here and want to. I can't. Like, I just don't feel like this is really not worth the criticisms that I'm receiving.
Yeah.
So I walked away. But in the back of my mind, I always kind of lingered upon. I wanted to do some kind of competition. It sounded like something kind of fun. So
Mhm.
fast forward 8 years later till August 2022. And then comes a time and opportunity of, I was like, well, this is something that was tons of fun. I liked doing this. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this for 1 year. I'm going to commit and I'm going to enter into whatever competition, whatever level I'm at. So therefore I dedicated myself to just going back to pole, yeah, relearning how to climb, relearning how to do leg hangs, relearning how to do shoulder mount. So
Mhm.
I had to start over again from scratch. And then, come into August, so 1 year later in September 2023, is when yes, I was able to do the strongman do the muscle man
So man, yeah.
routine that we put together and how I met you. So that
Yeah.
kind of, if that provides, yeah, the background, but that's who I
Sure.
am. So
That's so interesting. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing. And secondly, that's really unfortunate that people who were supposed to be your friends had so many negative comments to say. And I think, there are stereotypes and there's biases and preconceptions about pole dance right out there. I think nowadays it's becoming more mainstream than when you started almost 10 years ago. That's amazing, Brian.
yeah, so the interesting
It took
thing is
courage
that,
for you as a
yeah,
man to walk into that studio. It
no,
did.
well, the thing is, once I started getting into it and realizing I'm just going to commit myself to it, and I'm just going to show it for better for worse. The
Mhm.
interesting thing is that the people who were kind of not kind of strange, off put, little by little started sending encouraging messages,
Oh,
which was
interesting.
the most interesting thing. So I realized, kind of it's interesting. Like if you do what you do with enough love and conviction, and consistency, people are going to start to find themselves rooting for you.
Uh-huh.
When they first see you do it, they might see it as like, "Oh, we don't know what this is." But once they show, once they start to see your conviction and your commitment to it, it's almost like they kind of have this, they where they really like, wow, this is something, this is, whatever they're passionate about,
Yeah.
that they're like, they started to, people were kind enough to send messages. I think this is really cool. I think this is really neat. I've tried this and this is really hard to do. I think it's
Mhm.
so cool that you're doing this and that you're committed to, entering pole and entering into these competitions. So it was the whole entire, beginning of, from the whole 10-year span was incredibly fascinating, from how I saw it, how I was responded to, and the changes, all that were made around. So
Oh, yeah.
from my level of confidence of, maybe I really am not good at this, to, what, maybe I may be good, I may not, it's all subjective. I may be a great pole
Absolutely.
dancer, I may be a terrible pole dancer, but no matter what, I'm having fun, and
That's
I'm doing the
it.
best I can, you know?
Yes. That's it. As long as you're having fun and you love it, and you obviously love it. Like, I can see it in your face when you're talking about it and when you're remembering back, to your beginnings of it. And I think you're absolutely correct to say, when you approach something with that conviction and passion, people can people notice that, and it's admirable because you're doing something super hard, that's physically hard, mentally hard, and also hard because people are judging you in the beginning, right? But you didn't care because
Yeah,
you loved it, and you were honoring your authentic self and being like, screw you, this is what I love to do, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I think that most people can't do that, or many people, I shouldn't say most,
yeah,
many people allow themselves to be talked out of things, or, they start that self doubt and that negative
yeah,
self talk. And then somebody else says something negative, it reinforces what's already going on in their brain, and they just stop. So I think you're a great example to those people that if you just keep going and ignore all that noise in your own head and what other people are saying, you can really have a fulfilling hobby, adventure, whatever you want to call it, sport,
yeah.
experience, right? And you are
Yeah,
good. You're a
it's
gold medalist.
oh,
You
thank you.
beat me, so you got to be good.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good.
Oh my gosh. No, I love that story. So you were what? You were in your 30s when you started.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
started at 32, is when I started. And then when I came back was in my 40s, so now I'm 43. So it's interesting, um, when you get into like fitness and exercise, and maybe I think too as well, like, because since pole dance does have a level of fitness and exercise, it's
Hmm.
interesting. I've always looked older than I am, most of my life growing up. So now being 43, I'll have some people who have never met me in class asking me if I'm in my 30s. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like,
I,
really? I just,
yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it, but I'm an old man now, and I'm okay being old, because for me growing up, there was times where you see a lot of people not make it to certain ages of life,
Oh yeah.
due to all kinds of different circumstances. So we had, in growing up through like high school, we had, unfortunately, a young man decided to take his life. We
Hmm.
had a classmate had her car flip over.
Yeah.
Another person, unfortunately, due to a domestic violence, was shot in his head by his dad at the age of 13. So
Oh my
it's weird
gosh.
to go through like these experiences of where you're hitting these stages of life, and you
Hmm.
look at it and you're like, there's people who have not made it to certain ages and stages. So
Yes.
for me, kind of coming into my 40s now, like, I'm kind of happy to be like I can say I'm old with a sense of joy about it, and a sense of pride. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how I've done it, but I've made it this far. So,
Yeah.
and hopefully I'll continue to make it to, the next stage of 50, the next stage of 60, or however long, I make it. But I take each year, because so many times, especially especially for females, there's this anti-aging thing,
Right.
and guys, we kind of a little bit somewhat, want to feel like we're younger. I'm okay. I love the age that I'm at, and I try to wear it with pride, and I
Yeah.
think it's okay. I think a lot of times we need to start. I hope we can start embracing being happy with our age of where we're at.
I love that, Brian.
So I don't know if you feel the same way or how it is, because I know
Yeah.
it's a hugely different experience.
You know, I'm like conflicted, right? So like you, I went through growing up losing friends to things like car accidents, suicide,
Yeah,
child, cancer as a child. And then, my husband passed away when I was in my 40s. So similarly to you and many people, it gives you a different appreciation for life and like the finite nature of it. And you stop taking it for granted. So there is a deep appreciation for, yes, still being alive, still being healthy and able to do what we do, which is hard no matter how old you are. So
yeah,
just to be able to do it, physically able to do it in your 40s and 50s, I am super proud of that and grateful.
yeah,
But at the same time, we live in Los Angeles where
yeah,
there's such an emphasis on being young. So it's like, I don't hide my age. I tell everybody it's all over the internet and my, website, whatever. I'm 55. Um, and I don't hide that, but I also want to appear as youthful as I feel. And I think
yeah,
I don't know if that's culture, if it's Los Angeles, if it's whatever. Like, I'm not having like facelifts and surgery and stuff like that, at least not yet, maybe in 10 years. But I would love to be at the point where I don't even think about that, right? Like ideally, I would just be like, let the wrinkles come and just, I want to
yeah.
be proud of my age that way too. But it's so difficult. And I think women especially are judged by that,
Mm,
by how well you're aging or not. But if
yeah.
you look like you're having work done, people will judge you about that too.
Yeah.
And like,
You're
so
you're yeah, you're in a lose-lose situation, right? So
yeah, so I don't know. Like, I want to encourage everybody of every age, my age, older, younger, to do the things that bring them joy and to be active and try things like pole dancing and join our community, which I think is super supportive of people of all ages.
yeah.
And look how you look. And like you're saying, you were I think you said this in the beginning, like you were self-conscious of your body and how you looked and you wore all the gym clothes, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, get naked in front of all of these women
Yeah.
at the pole studio. And as I age, like my body changes too, obviously, right? Like
Yeah.
I am strong, but I don't have the body I had when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
so that's another part of aging as a pole dancer. But I think that our community doesn't care about that. Do you
It
agree? Like in pole, like I feel like you go into the studio and everybody is loving you and encouraging you, no matter if you're having if you feel super confident in your body that day or if you gained 5 pounds in the past month, it doesn't matter.
I think there's always, I mean, for me, I kind of feel like the baseline of the victory is showing up. Because
Yes.
we never know, especially even if I mean, granted, there's some people in the studio who are incredibly fit, healthy people,
Mm,
and they go through the same. The funny thing is, they go through the same struggles as the person who's walking in through the first time,
right.
because they say, maybe for them, their struggle might be different.
Yeah.
For someone who's just beginning, learning to feel comfortable walking around a pole, performing it around the world could be a challenge. Now, for someone who's doing it for 8, 9 years, then if you're, getting into names, maybe Marchenko is a difficult thing that some people have the ability and don't have the ability, and they've been doing it for 8 years. So,
Right.
in one way, and that's the kind of life, we're all struggling with something that we're going through, but we're also on the flip side all going through some kind of success. And the
Mm,
most beautiful thing I think about the pole community, and why I kind of keep coming back, is it's one of the very few places that you walk into a group setting and you're doing the best you can that day, but at the
Yeah.
same time you got a group of people who you may or may not even have met, or maybe you've met once, or maybe seen them in class, and all of a sudden you have 9, 10 random people cheering for you, rooting
Yeah.
you on to do the best that you can, and I think it's one of the very few amazing things, of why I try to encourage people to do pole, because it's like they don't, they're not there's so much of support, and I won't deny that, there is there probably is 15% of a pole community that does have a dark side to it,
Hmm. Sure.
but if and some people do want to go to that small, kind of dark side of how the pull is, the pull industry.
Hmm.
But if you look at the overall aspect, on the whole spectrum, pull is the one of the more larger communities where you support one another. It's also one of the very few places where, like, I never would imagine I would fly to, I've never been to Asia. And this year I flew over to Taiwan to compete, and again, never in my life would I imagine at the age of 42 years old, I'm going to fly to a completely new continent I've never been to, and I'm going to go to a pole. And, I don't even speak any Mandarin at all. So I'm using Google Translate. And here people are who've never met me, never seen me, and at the end, of my performance, there's people who are, clapping for me and coming up to me saying, I really enjoyed your performance. And it's the one beautiful thing about pole is that, someone who's never met you from maybe, from a country that you never imagined, because again, we grew up in a different
Yeah.
in a different
Right.
world that we never would, and I think that's the beautiful thing about pole is that we find you can go to anywhere in, almost anywhere in this world, and
Hmm.
there'll be a community there cheering for you, rooting for you, helping you, and there to just support you. And it's really one of the very few it's one of the very few things where you can go all across the world and, find random strangers that are willing to just support you and cheer you on.
Yes.
So
That's so true, and I think Instagram is a big part of that. That's how we kind of have connected with people all over the world, so,
yeah,
like, we never have met them, but you know what they did, like, last week when they were in the studio, and you know
yeah.
how they like to train, and sometimes we'll DM people, and I love that, but I wanna know a little bit more about the competition that you went to, like, how did that come about? How did you decide to do it? What was your I mean, you just described your experience somewhat, but would you
Yeah.
do it again? Like, tell me a little
I,
bit about that.
so for the Taiwan competition.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so basically, it kind of came apart where I was like, there's for pole sport organization where we both competed, has multitude of different areas, uh, somewhat I guess worldwide. It's really kind of Europe. They did have Taiwan back in 2018, 2019, and
Mhm.
then they shut it down, after pandemic is my understanding, and they
Uh-huh.
reopened it up. So one of my first pole instructors, my pole mom, happens to be, Ching Lee, who's, some people, in the industry know very well of her. Some people do not. She's actually now, I think she's 62, going on 63 this year, and an
Oh.
incredible pole dancer and teacher. She's originally from Taiwan, so, I kind of, always had, and she brings usually people over in September, to
Mhm,
compete over in LA. So I was like, that's kind of really bold and courageous, for someone from Taiwan to come all the
mhm.
way over to, Los Angeles
Yeah.
to do a pole competition. So I said, if these people have the courage to do that, why not have the courage to go over there? And, knowing somebody, it'd just be a fun experience to be able
Mhm.
to go, and just see how how the country is, um, and being able to meet the entire country is a beautiful country, and the people there are really just genuinely friendly people. So especially because in LA, like LA, you definitely meet LA people is probably
Oh
like
yeah.
where it's like
Yeah.
the thing is like we get sometimes there's an old adage of people who've never been to California where we're called California nice, where basically it's like we try to be nice to people, but it's hard to believe it's like if it's a genuine nice to
Right.
people or if it's like we just generally just try to be nice.
Yeah.
Almost as like I guess somewhat as like a somewhat front mask, but going over there it was like meeting people who were like just honestly genuinely friendly, meeting a stranger. And so going through that competition, I mean, there was definitely, I think anytime you prepare or anytime you take pole, and especially in competition setting, there, it is a journey that you take. And there's kind of three different steps of putting together a routine that you want that means a lot to you. You have, being willing to choose a song because you're going to be probably practicing the same thing 50, 70, 100 times and listening to
Yeah.
songs. So there's a level of commitment that comes with it, as you know, that it you go through the different steps. For me, some people prepare through competition. They take movements or shapes that they know and they're comfortable with.
Hmm.
I completely do a different, unique approach in that I don't actually know most of the moves I'm doing. So I build a piece almost from its original foundation all
Uh-huh.
the way up to its creation. So there's time. So basically, I'll work with a coach to be able to help me show me the moves that I'm doing as I'm putting it into a competition. Um, is just the different. I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend it or not at the end of the day, but it's just how my own personal approach
Sure,
goes.
yeah, I'm
Uh,
always interested in people's processes because everybody is different. Like you said,
yeah,
some people will start with like a combo or like a routine, at least like maybe a spin pass that they know that's their thing, and they
yeah,
start with that. Then they find the music and the concept. Owner. Some people find the concept and the music, and then they choreograph the routine. Some people only do what they know, and some people use it as a time to challenge themselves to train something brand new that is like a trick or a combo that they've always wanted to do, and they can kind of do it. And then they polish it up and really perfect it for competition. So it's really
yeah,
different for everybody. So I
that's true.
appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing that. It's interesting.
Yeah, everybody's got their own. I mean, whatever works for you at the end of the day
Yeah.
is going to be, is what I encourage anybody to do. And then in going through, there's going to be as you go along with the process. I feel like and maybe you experience this too, that there's going to be moments of joy when you find it feels like it's coming together, and then
Mhm.
maybe 1 week later it just falls apart. So you go through this almost roller coaster. So I understand it's a lot to go through for a lot of people. For me, I understand too as well. The Taiwan competition was as my dog was aging.
Mm,
He unfortunately one day, congenital heart failure. So he's
mhm.
okay one day. The next day, unfortunately, he's gone. This was on March 21st, and the competition's on the 20, the 20, the 29th.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I, go through my dog, passing that day, and I had practiced that night. So the first, I'm practicing, and normally I'm one of those people. I didn't practice ever with a crash pad.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is the challenge is I was making a transition, and fell for the first time
Oh
on my
God.
head, kind of like, and then so I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I get up, and then I'm one of those when you fall off a bike, I was told you just get back on the bike and
Yeah.
just keep going. So I clean up the blood on the floor, look at there's
Oh
a
my
gash in my head,
God,
put
Brian.
a band-aid on, get right back on the pole and start doing the routine. I'm midway through my spin routine and I'm like, I'm starting to kind of feel a little bit dizzy. Maybe this is not the best like,
Oh,
so I'm like, okay, so kind of dismount and then go through. Then studios like you got to get yours maybe go to a hospital get yourself checked. So go through get the CT scan, and that's on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I get the result, or on Monday, go. On Tuesday, I get the results that somehow, thankfully, there's no concussion, there's no major injury.
thank
So
God.
that's where on Wednesday, then I actually then fly to Taiwan. Um, with this like still dealing with a head injury, still dealing with grief, get it
Oh,
day, international travel, so you lose a day. So I arrive on Friday. I arrive late Thursday night, Friday morning. Friday I then go through, um, practice a couple times, just be light on myself, and then
yeah.
I go through and then step on stage. And it's once you step on stage, I just learned to take a deep. I take a sip of water right before I go on. I take a deep breath, and I just say, "Go out there, have fun, and do your best, and remember this is what you love."
Oh,
Um, and
yeah.
just try to pull through, and whatever it is that day, I accept that's the best it is that day. My
Mhm.
whole thing was just don't fall, and try to complete the routine, so and my baseline was I was in a higher category trying level 4, which I've never done before, and then in new setting. So I just told myself I'm okay. I don't either way I'm going to place. Anytime you enter into
Yeah,
competition, the good news is and there's very if you don't get first place, some people take it to heart, and if you need to take it to heart, take it to heart. But if not, be glad that you did it, because maybe your second place, third place, place routine might honestly be someone's favorite routine out of the whole routines they see. And
absolutely.
even though you may be hurt, it also might be somebody's best experience that they saw. So
Mhm.
I kind of went in. I said I'm probably not going to do the best, but I'm going to give it my best. So finished last place out of 5 people. But then in the end, there are a couple of people who came up to me and said, they they really enjoyed the routine. They thought it was great. I had some people who came up to me, asking for my Instagram. So I met
Mhm.
5, 7 people all of a sudden who are now Instagram social media friends, just
Sure.
off of, taking a chance of flying to a different continent, flying to a new country and performing in a show. And I think that's kind of the blessing of, where pull kind of brings us.
Yeah.
So, it's we never know where the day's going to take us. But at the end of the day, it's interesting because even though I can look at it as though a last place finish, I still feel like I won in life, you know,
Aw,
in a kind
yeah,
of cool way. Because I was like, I still feel like that was my first place.
sure.
I lost, I lost, the dog, my dog I had for 12 years, who was,
Yeah.
the one who brought me to love again.
Mm,
Because previously I had dealt with, a separation, and it was, domestic violence. So I had a hard time just dealing with interacting with females for a little while because
yeah,
of verbal and physical abuse that I'd been through.
I'm
So
sorry.
somebody recommended get a dog because maybe find somebody. So he, at that's, at 31, 32, I was like, I don't even think I'm worthy of love or being loved anymore. So getting a dog and getting him was like, okay, now I can feel I can get loved.
Oh,
I have
yeah,
love and I can be loved.
yeah,
So losing him was kind of a challenge, but then meeting people who were willing to share their life and open up their heart to me and just give me an opportunity to meet them was a huge blessing in the end. So even though sometimes there's some loss, there's still so much more gain in the end.
yeah. Ah, that's beautiful. Such a great positive message you're giving right now. And I'm sorry you've gone through so much heartbreak and loss and, abuse. It's so hard. And, I've been in abusive relationship as well, not physically abusive, thank God, but it makes you start really doubting yourself and your self-worth
Yeah.
and everything that you thought was true about you. And right, it's like, oh, I didn't, it's like it blows everything up for you. And then it feels like you're starting from like this really raw place of, yeah, who can I trust? And I think a pet is the epitome of unconditional love. A
Yeah.
dog, like, and a cat, and so my both of my dogs, passed away over
Yeah.
this summer, and fortunately, I adopted these 2 little tiny kittens right before my little dog passed away, so he got to kind of, like, be their doggy daddy for the
Yeah.
first couple of weeks before he died, which was so sweet, and I was so grateful to have them after I lost him because it felt like they were also grieving him, but we were all together, so now they're just little bundles of love, like, they wanna be cuddling all the time, and we need that as humans, we need to have some source of love and that we can also give love to. I think that's a big important part of it, of the message too. Like, I know you
Yeah.
loved your dog so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I think I was, he brought me back to life. So in that sense, I was really
Yeah.
loved. I also learned too as well that animals in a unique way, animals and kids, it's hard, there's so much to love about them because there's so much
Right.
mystery. But I also realized that they teach us so much about ourselves that
Yep.
maybe they open us to some of the blind spots that we didn't even know we might have. So
True.
some of the things where I said, okay, maybe this might be a small, minor fault of mine, or how maybe one of my, not beautiful traits, and so having a dog, when he would act a certain way, I would be, when I first got him, I was like, why are you acting like this? You're acting like, and then I realized, oh wait, he's acting like me. Oh my gosh. So it was like I couldn't scold my child. All I could do was laugh at him because I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, you're just being me in a funnier version." Because here, you don't, you're
Yeah.
just like this little 18-inch, 8-pound like version of me, and now I'm just like laughing at myself.
So cute.
Yeah, but it's like dogs are just funny that way. And you're like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
and kids are so cool too as well, because my sister has nephews. I don't have any kids of my own. But like they see life in such a different, unique perspective that you're kind
Absolutely.
of like, that's kind of cool. So
Yeah.
I think there's I feel like there's you learn a lot from the people that are older than you, because they have different experiences of life, of how life was. And
Mhm.
then the within the youth, because the youth, and the 10-year-olds, the kids that we see today, they're growing up in a completely different life than we're
Oh,
used to,
yeah.
so they're kind of teaching us about a new life. And
Yeah.
then we're also still learning about our life too, as well as we progress in our age too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that because you are a person who is open to growth and you are looking for those influences in your life. And that's a beautiful way to live. Not everybody, unfortunately, does. Some people just get stuck in their very narrow view of the world based on their own limited experiences, and they kind of resist learning from people from other generations, whether they're older or younger. And I think um, by doing that, you really cheat yourself out of the richness of life because it doesn't matter how old you are. You're right. Like a child who's growing up in this world that is connected to everybody globally, like you have all these screens and the internet and apps. And sure, there's negative influences that come as well, but we grew up before the time of those things and before
yeah.
cell phones, and there were a lot of good things that we learned from being disconnected and being more outside and in real
Yeah.
life with people, and we try to impart that onto the younger generation, but they have a totally different perception of the world than we do because of how they're growing up. So it's
Yeah,
important for us to try to at least understand that a little bit.
yeah,
Otherwise, we
yeah.
become like those old people stuck in their ways, and we don't
Yeah,
grow.
there's a yeah, where when all our information was acquired through the
Yeah.
Encyclopedia Britannica,
Yeah.
and the way we got around from one location to the next was a Thomas guide. So
Yeah. Oh my
people
gosh.
are like, "We have
How
a thing called
dangerous was
Waze." I'm like,
that?
"What is that?"
Yeah, we driving a car, looking at the map, like pushing the
Yeah,
pages
yeah,
and driving, looking.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think
And you
that
gotta
was
go
more
from
dangerous than
F7
text.
to C5, to figure out because you switch cities. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. That's funny. Uh, but yeah, it's life is cool if you stay open to everything and like keep learning, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Well,
really cool.
I kind of look at it as like for me, my whole thing is every single year I kind of come up with five. I have five kind of same year goal resolutions. My whole thing is that I want to try to inspire someone in a positive
Mhm.
way.
Sure.
I want to, the second thing, I want to be able to encourage or motivate somebody to try something new. Because again, with pole, I never would imagine,
Right.
we only have one life to live. Do that weird thing, do that unique thing you never imagined you'd want to do because you
Yes.
never know if you're going to have fun or not.
Right.
And if you don't have fun, at least you got the experience and gained the knowledge if it was worth your time or not.
Yes.
Go on that blind date. I want to be able to hopefully, if I can teach someone, if I can help educate, if I can deliver a piece of advice that someone can take with them.
Hmm.
That's the way we can kind of gain is through spreading of knowledge and imparting our wisdom that maybe one day someone else can teach someone else something. That's how
Yes.
we can help grow, I feel. And then I want to be able to be authentic within my emotions and feelings to people because so many times I think we get nervous. What will that person feel?
Right.
How will that person respond? So we never get that chance. And both of us dealing, with loss of life, you see people, as they're kind of in, at funerals, and some people are crying because I didn't get the chance to tell that
Yeah.
person I love you. I didn't get that person to tell you you mean something to me. So I want to be able to every year I try, to try to at least find one person or if I can more and be as authentic and, open about, my feelings or what they mean to me or how much I appreciate and even for you too, I appreciate how much you open up and allow me to be on a podcast
Yeah.
and allow me the opportunity to speak or share a story with you too. So
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And I mean, that's the whole reason, like a lot of what you're saying resonates with me. The whole purpose of this podcast is to inspire other people to do the weird thing, like you said, like
yeah,
there's a pole studio in like every city nowadays, multiple, right? Go into the pole studio, even if you're not a dancer, you're not an athlete, it's going to be fun if nothing
yeah,
else, and you'll learn something. Maybe you'll never go back, but I just am like trying to encourage people of our age and older. Like, you don't have to limit yourself to just going like to the senior center or the YMCA or going for a walk. Like, there's fun things you can still do at any age. You don't have to just like give up on life, so to speak, like, or give up on yourself. Like, you can still
mm,
feel like young and have fun and doing things that are exciting and weird. And it could,
yeah,
and maybe it's not pole, maybe it's like go buy a motorcycle or take a singing lesson or, do
yeah,
salsa dancing. I don't know, learn to surf. But
yeah, yeah,
try it. Just you owe it. We owe it to ourselves. Like, we've all been through so much. By the time we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, like, life throws a lot of shit at you. It just does. That's how life is, right? But it's
yeah,
at some point, you said it before, you only have one life and you don't want to have regrets at the end.
yeah,
And you don't want to be the one saying, I wish I told that person how I felt about them. Tell them how you feel about them now. Inspire somebody to feel confident enough and comfortable enough in themselves that they can feel safe enough to express the things they feel. Right? That's the other thing. And I think you are that type of person. I'm sure the people around you feel very comfortable and safe and can open up to you. And
Oh,
I try to do that um, myself. I try to be more open than I was in the past, but I also try to provide this platform for people to open up and share because
yeah.
I do think it's inspiring. I do think people will listen to your story and feel like, wow, if Brian can get on here and share what he shared, I think that I'm ready to share my truth as well. You know,
Yeah. Well,
you
hopefully,
do
I mean, if
inspire people. And I'm sure when you were in Taiwan, you inspired people. Doesn't matter what place you came in, you being there and flying there and doing your piece was inspiring to people. You
thank
inspired me. I was like, look what Brian is doing. Oh my God, should
yeah,
I be doing that? I need to go overseas somewhere and do a competition or a
right.
performance.
Yeah, just yeah, fly somewhere, try something new, and I think you're saying, and with Paul in particular, it's so interesting because we're dealing in a unique outfit in that pole has three different elements I feel to it, and all elements hold the same reality. There is, how's it started out as a sexual element to it,
Yeah.
and there is a level of sexual confidence. I can say that, and I can even say, even working at let's just maybe in the studio for 1 year, you can see the self-confidence people have. There was one person, and you see some people that come in sometimes and then you're like, you don't know if they're going to come back or not.
Yeah.
There's one woman who came, I was like, okay, I'm not sure. She came back the next week. She came back the next week. She came back the next week. After about like 4 months of seeing this girl coming one week, you see in her face her confidence growing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see her becoming more, that she was starting to love herself, that she felt a lot more comfortable kind of
Yes.
in her own element. So
Yes.
that there is the sexual, the other thing is the whole entire art to it. We are expressing ourselves. My thing is that I, after watching pole dance for about as long as I have now, I've realized when people pole dance, we're expressing our passion and our vulnerability at the same time. So
Yes.
as you watch people dance more and more, you're watching them express their passion, show their vulnerability, and express it. So we as dancers, in an interesting way, get to know about each other in such a unique way, because a lot of times we don't. Sometimes we suppress a lot of our passions, and we definitely hide a lot of our vulnerabilities.
Oh
But
yeah.
here we come, stepping onto a pole, and with this art we're showcasing this to the world, to the audience, to the five people we might share class with.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an athletic thing to it. I get told you're strong, you're a guy.
Yeah.
This have a true element, but there's a whole level of flexibility. You
Yeah.
know, there is, you can, there is, and like going back to body types, as we originally said, there is, a woman, and her body type is a lot different than mine. I still can't do a jade split, let alone any kind of regular split. She
Yeah.
can do a jade split.
Yeah.
Her body type is completely different from mine. It has nothing to do with me being a male or her being like, female, or our size differences.
Mm-hmm.
There's levels of flexibility that people, are challenged with daily. There's levels of strength that we do in this exercise that we're challenged with the daily. And part of it is it encourages us to stretch, especially now, 55 and 43.
Yeah.
We gotta really start to embrace stretching more every day, and
Right.
just to be able to progress. So
Mm-hmm.
with that, and pole forces us in a unique way to do that as an exercise. So encompassing three different levels of arts, expressing your sexuality, on stage on a pole, and then also challenging yourself in this physical realm. We
Mm-hmm.
have almost all elements of ourselves, since we're
Yeah.
expressing our soul, we're expressing our bodies, and we're expressing our emotions upon everybody. So
I think you put that so perfectly. Yeah, you captured it. You really did. Thank you for doing that. I think
yeah.
that's what makes pull different from everything else. different from any other kind of sport, activity, art form. Like it really is different. It's very unique. So
I really, and that's where I think like you too as well. I encourage people just, give it a try. If it, you never know where you're going to end up and how it's going to be and what it will speak to you,
yeah,
because some people, again, because everybody has a different unique thing out of it. And maybe the original reason why you start won't even, months
right.
later will be a different reason of why you stay. Um,
Yes,
but don't be afraid to get out there and give it a try. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And on that positive note of encouragement, I'm going to wrap it up for the day, even though I feel like we could keep talking. But thank you. Thank you, Brian, for being so truthful and transparent and open. I think this was a beautiful conversation. And I'm really grateful to you for being here.
well, thank
So,
you for allowing me the time and even considering me to be able to be on your show. And
of
it's been a
course.
joy.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So, for everybody listening, like I said, I'll put Brian's Instagram in the show notes. If you have questions for Brian, you can leave them in the comments, or you always can reach out on Instagram in
Yeah.
DMs. So, yeah, until next time, thank you guys. If this was inspiring to you, please share it with other people. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fit, Fierce, and Fearless, powered by Gen X Pole Arts. I hope you feel inspired by the incredible stories of strength and resilience that we shared today. Remember, it's never too late to embrace your potential and unleash your passion. If you enjoyed this episode, please, I would appreciate it if you would take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave me a review. Your support really helps me to continue to uplift and empower women over 40 in our pole dance community and beyond. Don't forget to connect with me on social media for more inspiration and updates. I'd love to hear your stories and share in your journey. So until next time, keep dancing, keep shining, and remember that your strength knows no age.